Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Mind Blow Monday. Yep, it's still around. We're still doing it. Still going. And for this episode, I'm going to do something positive again. That's right. That's right. We're still doing it. So, yeah. Some of my more positively received videos were ones where I did positive reviews of certain movies, so I'm gonna do another positive review of some movies. Yep, I'm gonna do actually two movies with this one, and the two movies are gonna be the Tim Burton Batman movies. Yep, that's right, the Batman movie from 1989 and Batman Returns, the two Tim Burton Batman movies. So, first thing, of course, we have to talk about it. The score of these movies is amazing. It's amazing. Nobody's been able to even touch these scores in years. I was thinking about it, and you know what? I'm gonna say it. I think the scores for these films are my favorite scores of any films ever. That's how good they are. The it's perfect. I'm gonna have that stuck in my head the rest of this video now, just because of that. Worth it. Amazing scores. Brilliant stuff. And another thing that's very iconic about these films is the designs of the sets. The set dressing, all of that stuff is very iconic. Brilliant imagery, and a lot of people will say that these movies were more Tim Burton movies than they were Batman movies, and that's really where a lot of the weird set stuff comes from. And honestly, I love that. I think it's brilliant. I think that art as a whole, it's an expression of the artist. It's the artist's stuff. They're putting their own mix in there. So if we do see a lot of Tim Burton in his movies, then that's great. It's brilliant. I like seeing Tim Burton stuff. Keep the Disney out of my Tim Burton. Keep the Tim Burton in my Tim Burton. That's what I always say. So yes. Brilliant designs, brilliant score, very iconic stuff here. But these movies are seen as kind of 50-50 with the fan base. Some people really like them and talk about how iconic they are, and some people say, like, yeah, they were good back in the day, but they don't really hold up today, and there's some weird details here and there. And to that kind of stuff, I say, maybe. It's a little weird, but you know what? I like how weird they are. I like how weird it is. In the last video, we talked about Black Adam and how it was basically just pro wrestling the movie. I like that. I like when movies get goofy. I like when they just go kind of ridiculous sometimes. And that's exactly what happened in these movies. I rewatched them before I made this video, and I kid you not, I didn't even remember this being a line in the movie, but rewatching it, I saw it. There's a bit where Batman throws Catwoman on the ground and he says, "Eat floor!" And it's so ridiculous. It's a very goofy line. He literally says, "Eat floor, it's high fiber," or something like that. It's a very goofy line, but I kind of love how ridiculous this is. What's so great about these films is just how different they are from typical movies. You look at these movies and they are very themselves. They are very different from anything else. You could not mistake these movies for any other movie. I love the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, the Dark Knight trilogy. I love those too. But to be fair, they look a bit similar to other blockbusters of today. Could maybe mistake them for like Inception or maybe a recent Mission Impossible film and stuff like that. You can kind of see where the imagery and stuff like that is similar, and that's because it's supposed to be kind of set in a very realistic, based off of the real world kind of world. Thus, you can kind of see where the parallels are there. But I kind of like when films are very artistic and very their own distinct design and not just the real world. The Tim Burton Batman movies look way different from the real world. They look really weird, really wacky in a lot of places, and I love that. I think that's one of the best aspects of them. Brilliant. So, we talked about those aspects. Let's talk about some of the characters within them. So, this is one of the most difficult factors when it comes to the fans is the way that a lot of characters are changed. The way they are portrayed in this form is different from other things, and that kind of upsets some fans. But personally, I really like to see different takes on it. I really like to see things get changed around as long as like the core idea is there, or at least a good core idea is still there. I think it's still pretty cool. So, let's talk about some of the characters in the first Batman movie. So, of course, we got Batman doing his stuff. And I think Michael Keaton is great. I think everything that happens in the movie, I think he's doing a pretty good job. I really like how kind of weird he is. And yeah, he's Batman. He's going to be a little weird. So it makes sense, and also, it's just not the guy you would expect to be Batman. But it somehow works. When he actually does put on the suit and is Batmaning it up, you're like, yeah, that is Batman. But then when he's out of the suit, you're like, really? That guy's Batman? I'm surprised, but it works. It works really good for the film. Kim Basinger is Vicky Vale in this movie, and she's okay. I'll be honest, she's just okay. She does a good job with her performance. She's fine. It's just the character herself is kind of You know, she's a reporter. She takes some pictures. She does some interviewing. She kind of like seduces guys to talk to them a little bit, but it's kind of left up to the audience's interpretation whether she was seducing him to just seduce him or seduce him to get some notes down. It's not really clear, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, she was a little bit weaker, but I didn't think she was annoying or a bad character or anything. She was just kind of bland. But that's okay, because you know what? Batman was cool, and that guy Knox, he was pretty fun. He was like the Harrison Ford of the franchise. He was the Han Solo of the franchise. The guy who was always cracking the jokes and being a witty one-liner type of guy. And he was pretty fun. And I even heard that, I didn't know about this, but I heard about it online, that some recent DC shows, some DC shows that are connected with themselves in their own universe, there was a crossover Universal event in which Knox actually returned. He actually reprised his role from this movie, and I'm like, that's really cool to see that. I'm happy to see that, and he himself, the actor behind it, even commented on his role in it, and I'm like, that's pretty cool to see. So yeah, he was a cool, fun character. Cool stuff. And then let's talk about Man of the Hour, the Joker. So yeah, the Joker. Probably the most difficult character when it comes to the fans, because some things get changed up here. And personally, I'm going to say it, going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it, I loved this Joker, and he might actually scare me even more than any other Joker. So hear me out, hear me out. The biggest thing people don't like is two things. Number one, they give him a backstory, which I am personally fine with. A lot of people don't really like giving him a backstory because, he's supposed to be strange. You're not supposed to understand the Joker. He's supposed to be something you just don't get. So giving him a backstory, now you understand where he's coming from, now you've humanized him, and now you don't really like him anymore. Even in that Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, in that movie, they purposely do it in a way where Joaquin Phoenix's character telling the story is untruthful. You can't truly believe everything he says. He's crazy, he makes stuff up. What part of his story is true, what part isn't true, they still left that up for interpretation because they don't want to just give him a definitive backstory because then you actually understand him. You're not supposed to understand him. He's supposed to be just such a crazy thing you never get. So, giving him a backstory, a lot of people didn't like that. But me personally, I'm fine with it simply because of this. Even though they give the Joker a backstory, the difference between Jack Napier and Joker is night and day. There's still so much different between them that I think it still works. Jack Napier is just a mob guy. He's just a mob guy doing mob things. He's very organized. He's very careful with everything he does. And always has a plan. He's just a mob boss. But then after he falls into the vat of chemicals and becomes the Joker, everything goes out the window and he's just a nutcase doing crazy things. He has weird bleached skin, a permanent smile. It's all really weird. And what I think works best for him is he doesn't really have a plan. All he really cares about is just people. He wants people paying attention to him, and he just does whatever. From that point on, he does whatever. He doesn't have some big old plan, 4D chess, I'm going to do this and it's going to get me everything I want. No, he's unpredictable. He just goes from thing to thing, just causing chaos. And that's what makes him so scary is you don't know what he's going to do next. You don't know what this guy's doing. You don't know what this guy's capable of. He's just a nutcase doing whatever he wants, and you don't really get it. With Jack Napier, it's clear that that's a person who has wants and is going to work towards some kind of goal. But with Joker, you don't know. He wants to be seen, but what is he going to do? What's his plan? You don't know. And even then, he just screws around in that art museum in that one scene and whatnot. What is he doing? He's just messing around, doing whatever, usually killing people in the process, but he just does stuff. There's no reason to it. And that's what's so scary about him is you don't know what he's going to do next. You can't predict him. He's unpredictable. And thus, it's pretty scary in my opinion. He's a creepy guy. But the one thing I will say is the other thing that people complain about with him is they tie in his backstory with Batman's backstory. They say that he's the guy that killed Bruce Wayne's parents, and people don't like that. I agree, I'm not a big fan of that either. I don't really like that detail. It's kind of a weird thing, Batman and Joker should have a dynamic together, but they shouldn't be the ones who made each other. That's kind of weird. They should just be wrapped up because of who they are, and they just ultimately wrap up and have a connection. They shouldn't be the ones to create each other. That's just kind of weird. And then, this also drives Batman to kill him and kill people a bit in this movie, and that's really weird. I don't like Batman killing, especially when he specifically says to Joker, I'm gonna kill you. That's weird. That's a little bit weird. But to be fair, the killing that Batman does in these movies, it's not really a focused on thing. It's kind of blink and it's over thing. So it's not that big a deal. But yeah, chill with the killing. But I still do think that Batman is pretty cool in these. And I really like the Joker, and I found him spooky scary. So let's talk about the characters of the second film, Batman Returns. So yeah, we got Batman, and he's still great. In fact, I think he's even better in this second movie than he was in the first movie. He was cool in the first movie, but I think he's even better in this one. Because you see even more of his inner conflict within himself. Brilliant stuff. So, new characters. Catwoman in this film is super cool. I'm honestly surprised that like more people aren't talking about this Catwoman today, because it's like this seems exactly like the type of character that Hollywood would want today. Someone who's down on their luck and tired of getting pushed around, so they just snap and become a vigilante and just kick everyone's ass. And they just murder people. She plays tic-tac-toe on that one guy's face. She's just crazy and is tired of people walking all over her, so she just fires back harder than they ever did. And thus she's kind of a tragic character, because you really feel bad for her and you want what's best for her, but she ultimately is too dark. She leans too much into the emotions, she leans too much into the dark stuff and wants to kill people rather than just punish them, send them to the police or something. Nah, she wants people dead. And thus it's pretty fun to watch the dynamic between her and Batman. This is some of the most intense stuff of the film. And it really hooks you in. Some fun stuff. Probably the most controversial character in this film is Penguin. And once again, I'm going to say something and people are going to be mad at me. But yeah, I like the Penguin in this movie. And I think he's actually my favorite version of the Penguin. A lot of people are going to be upset with me saying that. I like some other versions too. I do. I like the Gotham version of him. But personally, the biggest thing is so many versions of Penguin are just basic crime bosses. They're just a crime boss. He's just a guy who like wears a coat and wobbles around like a penguin, and he's just a crime boss, and that's it. It's kind of lame. I like what Batman Returns does with the Penguin, making him a weird penguin-y creature. It's very weird, but I like how weird it is. I like when it gets weird. And rather than him just being a crime boss, he does kind of have his crime goons that he works with, that he leads. But he's not just a crime boss in this movie. He's a tortured soul who's just mad at the world. He wants to just punish all of Gotham. He wants to kill all the kids of Gotham and get revenge, because he had that sad backstory where he got tossed out by his own parents and thrown into the sewer of an abandoned zoo, where he got raised by circus people and penguins. It's pretty out there, pretty crazy. It's pretty out there, it's pretty crazy, but I like how different it is from all the other versions. It's not just another boring crime boss. It's a tortured soul, and you see just how grotesque and weird he is and whatnot. And he wants revenge on the world that threw him away, essentially. The world essentially threw him away, and he said, I'm going to get revenge by killing everyone and wreaking havoc, and I kind of like that. There's also this character, Max Schreck, which, fun fact, he was originally, this character is a original character from the movie. It wasn't from source material, it was actually created for this movie. And the reason for that is because this role in the movie was actually going to be played by Harvey Dent, who was in the previous movie. Billy D. Williams played Harvey Dent in the previous film. He was unable to return to this film, so they wrote in a whole new character of Max Schreck. So Max Schreck is just the typical company bad guy, corporate bad guy kind of guy. He just wants to run a shady business, do shady business stuff, and get rich, but politicians are kind of blocking him. They're stepping in and regulating his company, and thus he wants to get Penguin elected mayor so that there won't be any regulations anymore and he can run his shady business and do all the shady stuff he wants to do without any issues. Yeah, on surface, he seems very surface level and bland, but what's kind of cool is if you pay attention, he talks about his son and his legacy a little bit. So it kind of hints that his real motivation for all the company stuff, all the business stuff and whatnot, it's to leave a good, bright future for his son. It's to leave his son with money, leave his son with a company, leave his son with good stuff. And it could come from a place of maybe insecurity where maybe he doesn't think he's the best father. He talks about how people said he was like Santa Claus, and he said, no, I'm not Santa Claus. Maybe he thinks he's inferior, he didn't do enough for people, and thus he wants to just give his son everything he can, and he's willing to be super criminally and throw people out of windows to get what he wants. So, even though that's one of the more bland characters, he still has a bit of depth to him. It's still pretty fun. So yeah, love these movies, love the characters, love the design, love the score, love all that. And then the story of the two. The story of the first one is okay. It's just kind of creating the world, essentially. It's basically creating the franchise. They're establishing that there's crime. Batman's there to stop the crime. People don't really know if he's real or whatnot, but he's kind of coming out, and they're like, okay, yeah. By the end, they get the signal and are like, yes, Batman is a real thing. And while that's all going on, the Joker is created, and he just wreaks havoc, and then Batman has to stop him. Simple stuff with that one. In the second one, there's a lot more going on. So like I said, Max Schreck wants to run his shady company, but he's getting blocked by politicians, so he wants Penguin to become the mayor of Gotham City to let him run his shady businesses and whatnot. Meanwhile, Penguin has his own motivation about getting revenge for being tossed out. He pretends his way. He manipulates people and pretends his way through most of the movie, acting like, oh, I'm such a sad person who had a sad life, and people should, feel bad for me. I want to find my parents and be a good person. But in reality, he's not actually trying to find his parents. He just wants to find the names of all the children in Gotham and murder all of them. That's what he wants to do. Pretty crazy. And then when that doesn't work, he just attaches a bunch of rockets to penguins and blows stuff up. Fun. It's kind of dumb, but fun. I like it. So yeah, while that's going on, Selina Kyle is Max Schreck's secretary who gets pushed around. Nobody takes her seriously. She's just abused within the system. And then she accidentally goes through some restricted files of Max Schreck's. Thus, Schreck is like, I don't think so, and shoves her out of a window trying to kill her, but she lives or dies and gets reborn as Catwoman or something. So yeah, she lives, comes back as Catwoman, and is tired of taking everyone's shit, and now she's just ready to beat people up and take things into her own hands. Cool stuff. And Batman is just trying to clean everything up in Gotham City. Meanwhile, he forms a connection with Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, and then the tragedy is, yeah, they both find out each other's secret identity. They both formed a relationship and then find out each other's secret identity. And they have to realize, like, what are we gonna do? Can we be together? Can we coexist? Do we have to fight? Can we negotiate something? And the saddest part of the second film is that it ends on a cliffhanger where you don't really get a definitive answer. It seems that Catwoman's gonna go and do her own thing, but Batman was still dedicated to trying to find her and reason with her and get stuff done, and it just ends there. You never get to see them come to their conclusion, which is a real shame. I wish there was a third movie. Wish we got some answers. Shame. But yeah, love these movies, love everything they did. And honestly, I'm upset that more people aren't talking about them. I think they're actually way more iconic and way cooler than a lot of people give them credit for. And I think the biggest reason is simply, like I said, it's very different. It takes a lot of risks and is different and weird in ways. But I think that's what makes it so special, is just how different and weird it is. I'm always a big guy who loves artists that put their own touch on stuff. If I see your work and it's the same as everybody else's work, I'm going to be like, it's kind of weak. But if I look at your work and I say, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. That is your work and nobody else's work. That's cool. That's some cool stuff. And that's really what I try to do with my channel a lot, is I try to put my own spin on things and be my own person. Maybe I take inspiration here and there, but I try and do it my own unique way and not just be a copycat of other channels. Which is kind of why I've called out some other channels in the past, is, even though I dislike some of the things you do, the biggest reason I call out channels is simply what you're saying is just what other people have said. There's a million other channels just like you, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Do what you want to do. Don't just copy other people. Don't just do what you think will get popular or any of that. Do what you want to do. Be you. Be unique. And nobody will be able to mistake your work for somebody else's work. So yeah, that's what I got for today. Make McChickens, not war.